two big stories in the news
this
week that are already, they're not surprises. We kind of knew they were coming already. And they're kind of connected.
What are they?
I think in a big way. Well, you know what they are. It's the fact that net neutrality has been shut down, or the process has begun of shutting it down.
True.
From the FCC chair and the committee, and also the fact that Disney and Fox, it's been confirmed, are joining forces. Or really, it's one of those, like, it's called M&A for a reason. There's mergers and there's acquisitions, and I guess it depends on who you ask, but this is an acquisition.
Yeah.
Disney's paying the bill on this one.
Yeah, definitely.
But you could still kind of look at it as a merger. Because $52 billion in stock is that's a lot of money.
It's nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's going to make sure that Fox News and Sports will go on to the end of time.
It's just what we need.
Yeah, they'll be covering cockroach football after the nuclear holocaust. Have them out there telling us who's going to win that. And it's funny. I mean, we reported on this previously. We knew that this was coming for a while, but I still think that, like, I just think these are connected. Like, I don't. The reason given by Marvel is that, you know, they had a statement from Bob Iger, CEO, and he's like, "Oh, this is great. It's a great thing, and it'll help us compete with streaming companies like Google and Amazon." Compete? Are you worried that the Wizards of Waverly Place season 14 or whatever they've got going on has more viewers than A Handmaid's Tale, right? Like,
I would think so.
It's not a question of competition, but it's a question of who's going to snap up the most whatever before it all before the shitstorm comes down. Because we've got a situation where now that net neutrality is gone or is in the process of being removed, ISPs can control what your access to different kinds of content. They are not restricted, so it isn't like. It'd be like if Ma Bell said, well, calls from your grandma will cost $2 a minute instead of $1 a minute for long distance.
Right.
That's why we broke those guys up.
Right.
And we're just handing whatever they want to the ISPs at this point. Be they wireless or broadband or whatever, we're just letting them, write the menu and treating this like it's not a utility, which it is. I have no problem telling you right away that I am fully in support of net neutrality. I think it's ridiculous. I think that internet access is a basic human right because it is now how we get all of our information.
Right.
And the FCC you are in control of that. So when you say everybody has to switch to digital TV channels and you turn off the analog ones, fine. That's how we're going to get our signals now. Like, that's what we do. And then that prompts manufacturers to say, well, we're not going to make, UHF and VHF tuners in our things anymore. It's all going to be digital because that's the way the market's going. And so it isn't just some frippery where let's see what's going on Facebook. Sure, it's that as well. But that's how people get their information. And you are supposed to safeguard that. Government, you're supposed to protect that. You're supposed to keep the wolves from our door because whatever their intentions, and I don't know if the CEO of Verizon is a good guy or a bad guy, but he's in control of a monster that eats, and it eats money. That's the job of a business, is to make money.
Right.
And you can't just say, well, we won't do anything bad with it. It's not up to you. It's up to this beast of capitalism, which has been designed to take as much advantage as it can from whatever. They're the Ferengi. There, I made it nerdy again. You can't judge Quark for wanting to get as much money as possible. That's the society he grew up in. That's how Ferengi work, and that's how a business works. And back to my original point, I think that Disney is smart in that they don't currently. I don't think they might own, percentages of ISPs or providers, but they don't own like any providers. But they own the content. And so by owning as much content as they can, they will be in a position to cut the best deal in order to get that content through ISPs to the consumers.
Right.
You look at somebody like NBC Universal / Comcast. That was their strategy. Their strategy is we will create the content, then we will market and sell the content, and we will own the lines that the content goes over.
Right.
And so we're unassailable in that regard. And that's their content is so bad. Like it hasn't, it's worked out in varying degrees of success for them. So yeah, I mean, this is a huge deal. It goes way beyond just, oh, Wolverine gets to fight Hulk now. Yeah, Wolverine gets to fight Hulk, sure. But the overreaching implications are so much larger than that. Because at what point does Disney just go, all right, we'll buy Spectrum, or we'll just buy, what's going to stop them from just buying a cable company?
Nothing.
And then exactly the scenario that I've described is already there. They just want you to pay for their stuff.
Right.
And I guess they don't really care if it becomes onerous, the fees or whatever, or the different fees you have to pay, or packages, because that's how they'll market it to you. It won't be, well, gamers, now you have to pay $15 a month if you want to stream your games. It'll be, hey, gamers, you want a game and boost extreme speed? It's $7.99 for a boost of speed. It's not a boost of speed. It's just $7.99 for what you're already paying for, and everybody else goes on the slow track. Everybody else gets throttled.
Yeah.
I love throttle. It's such a good word. It is
a good word.
Slow to reduced. It's like throttled, like putting a hand on each side of a neck and pressing down on a windpipe. So anyway, Wolverine gets to fight Hulk.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
We'll see.
Hopefully.
There will now be 2 Incredibles films before there is one good Fantastic Four film, but people that made Incredibles can make Fantastic Four now.
That's right.
I say, and they won't, they will absolutely, and this deal will take, first of all, it has to pass antitrust, which I would say, we're in the Trump era, baby. Why would the antitrust stop anything?
I don't know.
Let them all merge, right? The invisible hand.
Right.
But they did shut down the AT&T merger. Was it last year or earlier this year? So, and that was like 60 billion something. So this is in that range. So it'll take a while. It'll take a year or maybe 18 months for this all to play out financially. But you have to think that somebody like Kevin Feige or any of the creative people at Marvel Studios, they already have plans. They've probably got a stack full of scripts with Reed Richards in them.
Probably.
If this ever comes to pass. And now it's come to pass. So that has already begun.
Yeah.
It'll be enjoy some gingerbread and some eggnog and get right back here, bright and shiny, bushy-tailed January 1st, because we got work to do.
Right.
It's time to start dropping Baxter Building references into Avengers 4 or something like that. That's how I think it's going to play out.
Okay.
You?
I think that there will be a Fantastic Four film, hopefully a good one. And hopefully we'll see some X-Men crossover into Avengers as well.
I'd have to imagine that's the first place they're going to go.
Yeah.
Indeed. Other than that, no thoughts. What, you vaccinated with a phonograph needle?
I mean, I think this is a good thing overall.
Yeah. I think this is something that if you are paying attention, okay, all right. Here's a weird example from my life, and it has to do with Star Wars. Ready?
Yep.
So my family goes to church twice on Sunday. We go in the morning and we go at night.
Okay.
And so any program in the pre-VCR days, which I remember because that's how old I am, was just, oh, well, I'll hear about that tomorrow at school. My
Sure.
friends will tell me if that was any good or not. And there's nothing I could do about that. And I remember that the Ewok movies were on Sunday night. They were on Sunday nights. It was Caravan of Courage and the Ewok Adventure. I've got those flipped around. And for a kid who was not allowed to see theatrical films, and to be fair, I'm old but not that old, was probably, I mean, nowadays I guess you'd take a pretty young kid to Star Wars, but I was kind of out of the range of, it's not really, what am I going to get out of it?
Right.
Even though it's crazy because we all love Star Wars. I was in, 5, 6, 7, love Star Wars. So I was never going to see the movies, but here they were. They were on television. I could see them.
Right.
Right? But we go to church no matter what. So we would never stay home to watch Ewoks and not go to church. That would never happen.
Sure.
That's bad. Well, as often happened when I was young, I would get really excited about stuff.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen now. I never get excited about anything.
Stop.
And spend 10 minutes talking about a merger between two American companies. And so I'd get really excited, and I'd get sick. I'd make myself sick.
Oh my goodness.
Happened a lot on Halloween. Favorite holiday ever. My mom would sew, and she would sew amazing costumes, and then I would spend half the night, just moaning in my bed in a Ninja Turtle costume because
oh no,
I just, was just sick with excitement. And so I got sick. Ewoks was going to happen. It was on TV Sunday night. Couldn't go. Mad about that. Realized that I had an obligation to go to church. Went to church. Got sick. And just felt terrible. And my mom was eventually like, I guess we're going to go home. I mean, you don't feel good, so, there's no point in staying here, so let's go home.
Right.
So we're going to go home, and I was going to get to catch the last half of the Ewok movie, and I felt horrible about it. Now, there's nothing I really could have done. I mean, yes, the sum total of my emotions was contributing to how I felt, my illness.
Right.
But it wasn't anything I could control consciously.
Right.
And so I was getting what I wanted, and I didn't have to feel bad about it. And I felt terrible. And I resolved in my little 6-year-old brain to I'm not going to watch it. Or I'm not going to enjoy it at least.
Oh my goodness.
Because I don't deserve it. That is
That's
the kind.
complicated
Well, first
stuff.
of all, the right doesn't feel this way at all. But that's only somebody who cares enough about these things and thinks about these things could feel that way. And that's how I feel about the Disney Fox thing. Because, yeah, absolutely, I'd love to see, I don't know, whoever they get to play Wolverine, go toe-to-toe with Captain America. But I know what we're paying for it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Speaking of the right, we are putting 62, 70, whatever it is, $52 billion into the pockets of Fox News so that they'll launch satellites and rockets into space. And the first words that aliens hear from the planet Earth will be from Gretchen Carlson, probably.
Oh, boy.
We are empowering them to a high degree. We are also putting even more power in terms of intellectual property and future revenue into the hands of Disney, who I feel like has done a lot better recently morally as a company. Actually, they've never been terrible, but I think they're, they've got all your kids' money.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do about that. But I think they comport themselves generally fairly well as a company. If you are a small theater owner, you don't agree because they have egregious draconian rules for showing their films to the point where many small theaters aren't showing Star Wars this weekend because they just can't afford to.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah. And we have, you can look that up. We won't really report on that. So anyway, yeah, I'm sick. I'm driving home from church to watch Captain America fight Wolverine, and I feel bad and I don't want to watch it.
Oh, no.
That's my story. We're not talking about Marvel stuff. We're talking about Star Wars this week, of course. We're talking about Star Wars. That is the big deal. We'll have a review of Star Wars The Last Jedi. And the way we are going to do this review is, actually, we'll do it at the end of the show.
Okay.
Going to make you wait for it. We're going to talk about comic books first. We're doing Comic Book Club this week, and we're focusing on a Star Wars comic book. Fittingly, it is the ongoing series of the character Dr. Aphra.
Yep.
We're doing issues 1 through 6, the first volume of Dr. Aphra, written by Kieran Gillen, illustrated by Kev Walker. And we will get into that when we get to that, and also, like I said before, review of The Last Jedi. We'll do, let's say, 5 minutes of non-spoiler stuff. And then, this series is 45 years old or whatever.
Right.
There's no way to not. We'll just have to talk about spoilers. So we'll give you kind of our thumbs up, thumbs down, and talk about general things for a little bit. Then we'll let you know we're going spoilers. And then you can tune in to hear the outro for the show, but you can probably just turn the show off if you haven't. Or just put it on pause. Yeah, go see the movie, come back, and hear our detailed thoughts about it. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Kyle.
Good.
Feeling rested.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Excellent.
And Festive made some holiday cookies today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm the opposite.
Yeah?
I feel I'm not sick yet, and I feel like it's
coming?
Yeah, Phil Collins. Do 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 do.
Oh.
I can feel it coming.
In the air
I am
tonight.
exhausted, and if I stop moving for more than 5-10 minutes, I'm go down, gone.
Oh, boy.
So yeah, I'm trying to keep it together because it never ends.
No.
Especially when you've got The Last Jedi coming out, but with the holiday season ending and the new year starting, we're also ramping up production for the Star Trek show
Right.
on this network, Enterprising Individuals. So we're booking guests for that, taping shows, organizing things, scheduling, getting all that done. We're covering the return of Star Trek Discovery, of course.
Yep.
So it's all the same show, but it's like producing 2 shows, basically.
Absolutely.
Still, the movie show exists. It still exists at crafttoservices.com. It's just hard to give it focus. And I really could use like a production partner or another production partner for that. I'm very proud of the show. I think it's one of the best shows that we've done so far.
Sure.
And I really want people to hear it, but it's been so tough to dedicate promotional time to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've had some great guests. We've talked about some films, some ones you'd expect, and also some like I watched some new films. I learned some cinematic history in doing this, and I've talked to interesting people. And the show is definitely going to continue, but this is do. That's the musical cue. That means that I am run ragged. So I'm doing my best. I feel like a Kylo Ren.
Oh, boy.
Is that a good tie-in?
Yeah, that is a good tie-in.
Nelly tape on my face. What was the idea? I don't know. All right, save it. All right, well, Star Wars?
Yeah.
Let's talk Star Wars.
Let's go out with something really hot for these folks. A big hit out of 77. Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars. Don't let them end. Star Wars.
Dr. Aphra.
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 Yeah, I guess I'm not losing my voice that bad.
Follows Dr. Aphra. And
a character who originated in the Star Wars Darth Vader series.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Was like factotum or like a helper hired by Darth Vader in the post after the Battle of Yavin.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Isn't that where this takes place?
Yes.
After Yavin, but like before Empire, or probably like happening kind of at the same time as Empire.
I think it is before Empire.
Yeah.
And it's about her and her murderous droids.
Yeah. Which were also in the Vader comic.
And her Wookiee friend.
Yeah, she like worked for Vader, but like she pissed him off or something. I assume that she grew a conscience or something like that, and so Vader thought that he had killed her, or she like faked her death.
Right.
And so now she's going back to she's Space Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Only like more fortune and less glory.
Yes.
Or something like that.
She's mischievous and not exactly always on the up and up.
Right. Yeah, that's that sort of this belongs in a museum.
Yes.
But also maybe it belongs in my pocket.
Right. Exactly.
The Star-Lord-y kind of character that we look for now.
Yes. And in the beginning of this, she steals a totem from some guy and is looking to bring it in and get some money for it.
Yeah, well, you don't have to give us the entire plot summary.
Right.
But yeah, she travels on her ship, the Archangel 2 or something like that.
Yes.
Because you have to give ships weird arbitrary numbers because of Slave 1. And she travels with Chrysanthemum, who is a former gladiator, like a mean Wookiee.
Yes.
Who's on his own sort of mission. And her droids 000 and BT1.
Yes.
They're clearly based on R2 and C3PO, only they're both black.
Right.
Because they're evil.
They're
bad
evil.
dudes. And 000 is like a psychopath, and well, they're both psychopaths, but and BT is kind of a megalomaniac.
Yeah.
As well as being a murderous psychopath. When I first read about these characters, and I didn't read like all the Vader issues, but when I first read about these characters, I was like, that'll get old real fast. And it hasn't gotten old in these issues just yet.
No.
But I can see it getting old.
I can see it getting old too.
But in Kieran Gillen's capable hands, they remain fun and light.
Yeah.
You also have that problem of, if everybody's kind of a bad guy, why are they all alive still? Because our heroes exist and are still alive because if they fall in a garbage chute, then you've got other heroes working to stop the garbage chute from going,
Right.
Or you've got some people working to lower a shield on a forest moon while you're fighting your father somewhere.
Right.
If nobody cares about each other, wouldn't they all just die? There's literally a part in this where the Empire is coming hot up on Aphra's trail, and BT and triple O or whatever see them, and they're like, "Should we warn them? We got a lot of stuff to do. Let's not
wait
worry.
till it gets back to
we'll
the
just do
ship."
it later." It's like, well, yeah.
And,
so anyway,
yeah.
Aphra runs into her dad, she is estranged from. Her dad is now a scholar, but also something of a monk. And he is a disciple, or at least he studies the Ordu, which are this sort of legendary sort of offshoot of the Jedi, this weird order, which, good job naming it. You just named them Order, but it doesn't matter. And he's basically like, there's this legend of this artifact that can bring like eternal life. But nobody knows exactly like where this came from, and there's different sort of versions of this story, what happened to these guys. And the story kind of plays with that as well. Like, we see one person tell the story, and the Ordu are like these very noble people who are Jedi who are being hounded, and there's another version of the story where they're just like the worst people ever, and the Jedi are like trying to stop their awful experiments. And then BT tries to tell the story and he's the hero of it, and they're like, BT, shut up, not right now. So she has to sort of uneasily work with her father to find out the secret of what this thing is, and in the meantime she is being chased by the Empire, specifically by Captain Tolvan, who is a female Imperial officer who seems like she's partially cyborged. She's got some parts, which is kind of interesting. And we know that this takes place after Rogue One, that came out in the theaters, because they specifically reference things from Rogue One.
Okay.
They talk about, at one point, their adventures take them to Yavin 4.
Right.
Which was the setting of the last part of Star Wars.
Right.
With the Massassi Temple. And they're talking about like, oh, this old temple, and like, the Empire's blowing stuff all over the place. Like, they blew up Jeddah or whatever, which is of course the Jedi city in Rogue One.
Right.
And then Tolvan has been demoted from like a higher rank because of her failure on Eadu, which is where the research facility was that I Love You, Stardust, where Mads Mikkelsen worked.
Okay.
In Rogue One. I know too much about Rogue One. I wish I didn't know it. So anyway, what'd you think of this?
I liked it. I liked the droids a lot. They were the comedic relief.
This is a Karen Gillan book. Everybody's the comedic relief.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. In it, like, we're going to complain about people telling too many jokes in a Star Wars movie in a little bit, but this works. It works here for some reason for me, because you set up this universe where everybody's kind of a snarky asshole,
right?
And there's not. You get the idea that there are credible stakes, but nobody's really taking it all that seriously.
That's true.
And I don't know, for some reason it works for me. Yeah, everybody's way too clever. It's like this. It reminds. It's got a real. This is just the Raiders of the Lost Ark, basically.
It has a real feel to it.
Yeah, if Indy had a smidgen less morals, than he already
Yes.
doesn't have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Indiana Jones, at some points, you feel like he could maybe... I mean,
He's happy that a man goes through a plane propeller.
Yeah.
He was a Nazi.
Yes.
For certain, but he, now he's a cultoplata. Look it up. So yeah, I kind of like the character of Aphra. I've always liked, and I've said this in the show before, I like a good buffoon, or at least I like a smart character who doesn't stop to be smart enough or smart all the time.
Sure.
It's kind of like, that's probably fine. Like I like characters like that, and she's definitely that. Although I think you do get a question about how smart she is sometimes. She's clearly very smart, but she doesn't have a lot of patience for book learning, and so that gets her in trouble. There's a backup story, also written by Gillen and drawn by Salvador Larroca, where we see an event expanded that was mentioned in the story itself, but it's a flashback basically, and we see her trying to earn her space doctorate or something, and it involves her blackmailing a professor who, to be fair, already basically told her that he was never going to pass her anyway or whatever.
Right.
And so he's working on this like sort of legal project, and she exposes it. But then that all comes crashing down because it gets mixed up later and her doctorate gets revoked, and now she can't sell these antiquities that she's stealing, basically. So it's like, what is a bad girl going to do? She's going to go out on her ship and she's going to fly around.
Exactly.
I also I like when Star Wars gets weird. I like it when not everything, and a lot of the extended universe stuff is about this, and I think you can beat it down a lot. But I like it when it's not Skywalker this, slight dark side that. I like it when they take they find ancient things, that are like, oh, this is some ancient evil. It's Indiana Jones movie.
It is.
Hitler's bad, but you don't want Kali Ma to come back, right?
Right.
And so somebody who is completely selfish has to learn to be selfless a little bit, or the entire galaxy will be destroyed. And nobody will ever know that she did that.
No.
She's doing it for no money.
Right.
Which is completely anathema to her beliefs and desires. But she kind of does it anyway.
Yeah. I liked how they kind of backdoored her being a lesbian in there.
She's gay.
They didn't make a big deal out of it. And they just had her have this one line that one captain, I can't remember her name right now. Tolvan is kind of cute.
Yeah. You also, it's always good to have like they're chasing, it's a Thomas Crown affair, they're chasing each other down, but it's like, oh boy, I also want to get it off.
Yeah, right,
They hate each
exactly.
other, they want each other's.
And her dad is like, you have the worst taste to women.
Right, yeah, right. Yeah, I think that this is an ongoing series. This is going on right now. It's still going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that probably goes somewhere. At least I hope it does.
Yeah. The droids are pretty fun. What's the C-3PO's?
Triple O or triple zero?
000. When she tells him to basically induce her dad or whatever, what have you, and then she calls him off. And
induce? You mean kill?
Kill, or I can't remember if she wanted him to kill him or.
Well, she's basically
put him under.
Yeah, I mean, Triple's like a assassin droid who looks like C-3PO.
Right.
But he's got poison and
he's got all these
buzzsaws
in his
fingers and flamethrowers and so she's like, oh, you don't want to talk, Dad? All right, beat it out of him, and he's like, oh, no, yes, mistress.
Yeah.
And then she's like, all right, don't.
And then he's like, did you just tease me? And I mean, it was said a lot more clever than that.
Wait, he was saying, did you torture tease me? Basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, I feel like that's the kind of thing that would be in the Last Jedi if they could get away with it.
Oh.
Don't saber tease me. That's kind of what they're doing. Yeah, your mileage may vary. There's a lot of kind of sort of modern. I like my Star Wars a little bit removed, a little bit sort of weird,
sure,
and fantasy. But then, it works when you've got a bunch of knights walking around talking about empires and plans and stuff like that, and you got a bunch of guys with shaggy hair with their feet up on stuff, and they're like, I don't know what this is, man. I don't know at all. And that's our character. That's our Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court. You know what I mean? That's
right.
The guy that we follow. And yeah, I mean that we get that in this because they go back and they find out that this guy Rur, who was the leader of the Ordu or whatever, who was looking for eternal life, has only managed to replicate his consciousness, and he's put it into this crystal. But now this crystal is sort of... It's funny because he says that he duplicates he creates eternal life, I guess, by putting his spirit in this crystal, but then he's like, but my body was still around, but it was the false Rur. And I'm like, is it? Or did Rur create like an evil clone of himself and then worked to stop this evil thing that he'd made? Like he was still Rur and like a hero,
right?
But he realized that he had to. But if you were the evil disembodied spirit, you'd be like, you're the evil one. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that sort of ambiguity still sort of remained, in the telling of the story. I thought that was neat.
That was neat.
And it was immaterial because the real Rur was dead and Aphra was pawning all their lightsabers, which I thought was like, yes. If you're a junker and you come across a bunch of dead Jedi, you're like, score. Free lightsabers. But it doesn't matter to her because now there are a bunch of like possessed robots, possessed with the spirit of Rur that are all attacking them in this temple and stuff. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was neat.
It was neat.
I thought it was pretty good. Would you recommend it?
I would recommend it.
I would too.
Awesome.
I haven't read Star Wars comics in a long time.
It's been a while.
Well, not regularly in a long time. We've done some for the show, but I used to read quite a lot of them. A lot of that Rick Veitch stuff, Dark Empire this, and Knights of the Old Republic that, and yeah. But this is seems like they're in pretty good hands right now.
Yeah.
How many of those new Marvel ones did you read when they first came out, like 2 or 3 years ago?
I read Princess Leia one. I'm kind of trying to remember if I read any of the other ones or not.
Yeah.
I don't know if I read Darth Vader.
Did you read the main one?
Not.
The Jason Aaron one?
I read a couple of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not great.
It was all right.
Actually, it's fine. It's just so, and when we talk about Star Wars, we'll definitely get into this, but these are canon, so it's hard for me. Like when I read the old Mishima Star Wars stuff, and it's like, we're going to talk to the King of the Galaxy and look out for the blue bunny aliens or whatever. Like you're just like, it's just fun. It's just, I don't care. Like I'm not going to try to figure out where the Wikipedia article for all these people are. But now you read the Jason Aaron ones, and it's like, this is canon. Like this is actually what happened after the Battle of Yavin or whatever.
Right.
And everything that happens that doesn't quite fit into like my picture of what did happen, I'm kind of like, okay. So Luke really met Vader like right after the Battle of Yavin? I was kind of thought that he was built up in his mind, and then he faces him for the first time in Cloud City, but he just ran into him on this planet in a TIE fighter factory or something. That's really that we're going to go with that? Okay. I always find myself second guessing them, even though they're pretty well put together. I would definitely recommend this as well. So it's Dr. Aphra. You can check it out from Marvel Comics. Right now, it's available everywhere. They're Marvel Comics. They are available in your dreams. They will just now come in unbidden. There's nothing you can do about it. That's it. You know what? I think next week on Comic Book Club, we're going to talk some general comics.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to have an actual selection. This is kind of in preparation for some of the programming changes that are coming up for us when the new year rolls around. And so to that end, I don't necessarily want to put us on track for reading anything particular.
Okay.
So actually, you know what? We should read. we should read something Christmassy.
Okay.
And I think that we should read the only Christmas comic that I care about, which is the Trencher Christmas Bites Holiday Special. I'll explain later.
Okay.
From, oh man, is it Black Ball Comics? It's a long story. It is a very special treat. It explains itself. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. We'll talk about it when we come back next week. But otherwise, it's just going to be some fun Christmas comics talk next time on Comic Book Club.
Nothing but Star Wars. Give me those Star Wars any old day.
So Star Wars The Last Jedi is released in the last month of 2017. It's a continuation of what I'm not assuming it is. It's a trilogy. The new trilogy, the third trilogy in the series, following up from 2015's Force Awakens. And so it is the continuing story of Poe, Finn, Rey,
Kylo,
John Boy, Tinky Winky, and all the other ones. Yeah. And what if you gave a synopsis to this film, what would it be? I'm talking like 20 words. No plot details.
Rey trains with Luke Skywalker. The fate of the rebellion is once again in peril. That's about it.
Finn gets a girlfriend, cute girlfriend.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I guess they don't. Wow. Number 8, huh?
Yeah.
I guess the stories don't ever change.
It's hard.
Finn opens up a sandwich shop and has to. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing every time. I don't know if that kind of fatigue is setting in with the franchise or setting in with me. It's not really setting in with viewers. Looks like the movie has made about $220 million domestically, which, yeah, is pretty good. It's pretty much it had the second biggest opening of all time.
Okay.
I believe, after The Force Awakens, or maybe just for the series. Anyway, it's a lot of money. And it's sitting within the top 5 opening weekends of all time.
Okay.
Along with Jurassic World, some other franchise. I'm going to guess Harry Potter or Transformers, not sure which. And I think Avengers is still number 5.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
I mean, it's a pretty good movie with a lot of anticipation, but the fact that, 2012 was a million years ago in box office years, and it's hanging on.
Good for it.
Still hanging on, yeah. This film is directed by Rian Johnson, who is a director of, well, not much else, but a couple films, Looper, Brick, a film called The Brothers Bloom. And so he was seen as one of these hotshot
young
Turks. He used
directors.
to bullseye Womp Rats in his T-16 back home, but now he's on the big stage. And how is he going to handle it? And that's what we're talking about right now. How did he handle it?
He handled it okay.
Yeah.
He did a pretty okay job.
Wow.
Damning with faint praise.
Darth faint praise.
But, I mean, I think it turned out pretty okay for somebody who hasn't directed a whole lot.
Yeah, I think that there's more, folks. I think that most of the praise for the film, critically, and you have to make that distinction because, of course, people who go dressed as Rey to the premieres are going, "Oh my God!"
Right.
But most of the professional critics are praising the film's visuals, the direction, just the cinematography, like saying that no matter what, this is a beautiful looking film. It is visually striking and it stands out from other Star Wars films.
Right.
And I can't argue with that.
I can't argue with
really.
that either.
No. Gone is it's on one planet.
Yeah.
This one's green.
Right.
This one's white. That's gone.
Yeah.
They did everything they could to make this, as as varied as possible in its different settings. Possibly to a degree that harms the film. I feel that the film is very scattered in its tone and what it's trying to accomplish. And that's one thing that I would, I guess, would be a detraction for me, is that there is a lot of humor, and it's very forced, I think, in places. It's clearly... Yeah. I'm not doing a thing, but I can pretend like I was. We watched something the other day. What was it? Oh, Hercules.
Okay.
Which is... Oh, shoot. Oh, my kid will know because it'll be drilled into him at Disney school when he has to go to Disney school when Disney buys America or whatever. But the guys that made Hercules, they're the same guys that made a couple other films. It's like guys like Andrew Stanton, Brad Bird. Well, those are Pixar guys, I guess. But the guys that do Disney animated movies, so they sort of rotate.
Right.
And so the guys that did Hercules, and it's not coming to me. Was it like Clements and Musker, or was it? Anyway, the point is that Hercules is like, how do we get into this subject matter? It's about a Greek god. It's very thee and thou and forthwith. And so how do we... Oh, I know. We get Danny DeVito and then like 40 monkey barrels worth of slapstick humor. Like every single second that somebody isn't singing or during a singing or delivering a plot point, somebody is... I just fell onto my bottom in some butterscotch, or whatever. And to the point where you're like, I'm exhausted. Like I cannot even keep up with what's happening in this film. It's just continual.
Right.
It's an onslaught. And that's how I felt the humor was in this film. Like I get using humor to sort of pop the bubble of ostentatiousness, but it is continual.
Well,
and it's not even a spoiler to say the very first moment in the movie is like a Family Guy level joke about being on the phone. It's like a phone joke. Which you go, yeah, well, what about, what's your operating number? Oh, I'm fine. How are you? A boring conversation anyway. Like it's,
right.
I guess it's sort of a reference to that, but it is like this long extended beat. And we'll get into the specifics of the beat later, but it's like, really? Like we're doing knock-knock jokes in like the Star Wars universe?
Yeah.
I want a distance. It's a galaxy far, far away. Like I want them to be a little weird and alien. And then when you get moments of relatability, they make them so much more relatable. Like Luke is relatable to us because he's just this kid who won't drink his blue milk and wants to get some power converters. And then he runs into this weird, arcane, strange galaxy of princesses that talk in bad British accents, and laser swords and stuff like that. And we're kind of holding on with him. But like everybody is got a quip now. Like everybody's Han Solo. Everybody's got a thing.
Right.
And I don't really like that.
You don't want everybody to be Han Solo.
No, but everybody is.
Only Han Solo is Han Solo.
Well, not anymore.
I know.
It's not a spoiler.
That's not a spoiler.
What else? Trying to think of what we can talk about. I guess general impressions. I didn't like the film.
Right.
And as I've grown as a quote-unquote professional reviewer and done my best to become more objective, I can definitely see... Usually I like a movie or don't like it. And I don't really care about the individual things. I care about how a movie makes me feel. And I just didn't like it. Now, when I go back and think, like I said, from a detached professional point of view, I go, visually there are some very impressive things. I find myself thinking, do I want to see it again? And it's not like, no, I will never see it again. I kind of want to see it again, but I almost want to see it again to make sure I really don't like it. Do you know what I mean? I saw Justice League, which we can agree both professionally and non-professionally is not a good film.
Right.
But I walked out and I was already kind of planning, okay, when can I go back?
Right.
I think I want to see that again.
Right.
And then I never ended up doing it because, of course, exhausted, busy,
yeah.
And so I never got to see it again. If I had, I'm sure I would have walked out going, okay, that wasn't quite as good as I thought it was before. This, I probably will see it again, but I don't know if I'll like it again when I leave. And the reasons I didn't were the reasons that I said. I felt like, in reasons that we will definitely dig into when we get to the spoiler part of the review. It has almost no continuity with Force Awakens.
I would agree with that.
And in fact, it works against the continuity in Force Awakens. And I was somebody who was, like Justice League, indifferent about Force Awakens. I just liked it.
I liked it too.
Yeah, and maybe we can build on that, fine. And it's almost like this movie wants to tear down Force Awakens and do something else. And I do understand that, but I don't think it's good for the franchise. Get to the main things. Actors. Great to see Mark Hamill again.
Always great to see Mark Hamill.
No complaints. Great. We're seeing Luke in a bad way at a bad time.
Yep.
But, it would have been nice to see like a full power, looking good Luke. But if this is the Luke we get, he delivers on that. He gives us that Luke.
Yep.
Scraggly Luke. And he does a great job in his role. I've never really thought Carrie Fisher was... She's a writer. She's not an actress. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think that she would stand up and say, hey, give me that Golden Globe. I'm an actress. And so when they put more on her, it's like, all right, I think she does good, especially now in the fringes.
Sure.
And working with characters of her generation like Han Solo and stuff. So they give her more to do in this, and I think sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay.
Daisy Ridley is great as ever.
Yeah.
I really kind of think that I don't think there's enough Rey in this.
I think there should be more Rey as well.
And 50% of the movie is her. And I want even more.
Yeah.
And I feel like, sadly, because of events in the film, the agency that her character had is reduced to her just sort of going from place to place.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Part of her story is literally her being a supplicant to somebody else and trying to get the answers, but she's just reacting to things where before she was like, let's get out, let's do this. I'm going to make this choice. It might not be the right one. Let's do this.
Right.
And now she's just bouncing from place to place, and that's too bad.
Finn, I felt like he's somebody whose agency was taken away from him.
Totally sidelined.
Yeah.
Another character who has probably 45% of the screen time.
Yeah.
And is not important at all to the plot. A lot of that probably has to do with the fact that, I don't think that they really know
what they want to do with him.
Yeah. Yeah. He was always supposed to, well, he doesn't really fit into, this is all spoiler talk. Let's just say John Boyega, great job.
Yeah.
But I definitely go watch, I don't know, Detroit or something like that. You're not going to get your Boyega fix off of this.
That's true.
Poe Dameron's fine.
Yeah.
This is fine. Other Rebel characters. I liked Rose.
Yeah.
I liked Kelly Marie Tran, I believe is her name, in the role of Rose. But I don't like the role.
Okay.
Another character that just isn't ineffective, I think.
BB-8 was great.
BB-8 was great. What about BB-E9 or whatever? Evil BB-8.
Terrifying.
Why is there an evil BB-8 in this movie?
I don't know.
Keep going. We can't. I have to mention Adam Driver. Favorite part of the film.
Yeah.
The guy's just great.
He is great.
We a lot of times we talk about, or maybe we do we? About how when you watch a film, you can't ever really bullseye what the exact percentage of all the elements are that contribute to it being good or bad. But the element that nobody ever remembers to assign an integer to is casting. And, most of the movie is done in casting.
Yeah.
And this is a pick that's like, who would ever pick this guy to be, Darth Vader 2?
Right.
And he kills it.
He totally does.
Even when the movie does not give him enough to do. Even when the movie is totally underwriting him and he's acting like an asshole. Like he's just, Darth Vader was reserved and we could never see his face, but you understood his motivations because of the strength of the script. And even when Kylo Ren just becomes like a cartoon, he's still playing it. He's to the bone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's still there. And I think that's great. So hold on to that guy.
Yep.
Good stuff. Any last thoughts before we start spoiling stuff?
They didn't give Chewbacca enough to do.
Gave him nothing to do.
So that's a thumbs down for me.
This is a series that wrestles with the fact that it's got a new story and then it's still got all these old legacy characters.
Right.
He has literally been in every movie at this point.
He has.
Not the prequels, I guess, but he is. Yeah, he's the through line. In a similar vein, R2-D2, not enough to do.
I agree.
Because he's got, the younger, tighter, less crow's feet BB-8 pushing him out of the way.
You're totally right.
So yeah, he has like one pivotal scene, and the rest of the time, like Chewie, he's just hanging out.
Yeah,
he's there.
Yeah,
it's not like there's
there.
something. He didn't fall down a hole. Like he is in the action.
Yeah.
But don't you think like Luke would want to hang out with Chewie and
R2
and R2 a little bit? No.
We could have seen some cool scenes with that.
Yeah. Nope.
No.
Hey, shoot the lightsaber in the air for old time's sake. Come on, R2. Give you the high sign. There it goes. Kill some nuns. Anything else? Closing thoughts.
I liked it, I would say, for the most part, but I didn't think it was as good as Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess that's the meter that I would judge it by, and by that, then maybe it's not as great of a film.
Step in the right direction, step in the wrong direction.
Step in the wrong direction.
Sets up episode 9 well or doesn't?
That's the problem, is because
I've heard tell
I feel like it doesn't set up enough.
Yeah, it gives nothing to episode 9, and without spoiling anything, it ends in a way that feels very final. Even though there's stuff coming, still there are open threads, but it doesn't end with like, oh, now what? Is he his father?
Right.
Will they ever get Han back? There's nothing like that. It's like,
right.
Wow, that's it. That's the end. Oh no, there's going to be another movie. Oh, okay. Huh.
So it just sets up more things for episode 9 that it's going to have to set up.
Not a lot. They're going to have to begin a lot of things. From whole cloth.
It sets up the fact that it's going to have to begin a lot of things, so it stacks the odds against it.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Rating. How many galaxies far away? How far away are the galaxies? There you go. 50 billion light years.
Oh my goodness.
Wait, is that a long way?
I don't know.
I think
like a long way.
I think that's wider than the observable universe. So yeah, a long way. That's what I say.
I have no idea.
Okay. Down the street, the Quickie Mart down the street, or on the other side of the world?
What are you asking?
How far away is this galaxy?
Oh, other side of the world.
Wow. Okay. That's thumbs down. You said you liked it.
I liked it, but
this is the kind of journalism you come for, listener.
I liked it, but I didn't like it as much as The Force Awakens, which I really liked.
Okay. Well, if people have been keeping up with how much you like The Force Awakens, that will help them. All right.
Yeah.
Well, spoilers. Or no, what's the sound? What will you do when they catch you? What will you do when this is cut out of the movie?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Better than Rogue One.
Yeah.
That's my review. Better than Rogue One.
Yeah.
Spoiler talk. So in terms of actually delivering a film that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and from what I can tell, didn't suffer any major upsets in its production where, for instance, what will you do when they cut me out of the film? Like, you have to completely rearrange this thing.
Right.
Just to make it work. This is like, this kid did okay.
Right.
They've got this crop of kids who don't know what they're doing. Guys literally made... Brick was an independent movie. And he made Looper and Brothers Bloom. Brothers Bloom is execrable. Like, it is a horrible movie. Now, again, detached and professional, is it put together well? I can't even I don't know. I wasn't watching it for that. I just know that I hate it. It's a terrible movie. Looper's fine. There are a lot of things I don't like about that and that I don't feel make a lot of sense. But I think it's a well-made Hollywood movie.
Right.
So here's a guy with no experience who is now making a blockbuster, and you go, yeah, but that's George Lucas. That's what I was doing. He just got out of USC film school.
Right.
Yeah, but he was friends with like John Milius and like and Coppola and Spielberg. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
They were highly talented and they were highly studied in the films of the French New Wave, and the 70s cinema that was happening, when they were in school. So they were stealing from the right people. These kids now are just stealing from Star Wars. They're just stealing from what came before. And so I don't feel like the fact that you made Brick means that you should make a $300 million movie.
Right.
And so we see the fact that, and you wrote it too. You didn't just, it's written and directed. That's a lot of power for a powerhouse, $250 million movie. And to me, it shows. Like the script is a mess. It is the longest film, Star Wars film by a long shot, and it could have been 90 minutes.
It could have been.
We talked about Finn and Rose before. None of that makes any sense. And when you think about it, their plot line is completely ineffectual. The whole point is they're going to get a guy who's going to come back and do this thing. They go out, they get the wrong guy, he comes back, and he doesn't even do the thing. They all get captured. Completely worthless. Worthless waste of time.
Yeah.
You go, but they gave a kid a ring, and that kid has got a broom or something. Who cares?
I know.
That's a movie that may or may not even happen in the future. I'm watching this movie right now. And here's how I know that it doesn't matter, because Rian Johnson came on and threw away everything that J.J. Abrams set up in Force Awakens. And we all know how J.J. works. He's got the mystery box. There's nothing in the box. He created Lost. He created the character of Locke. He went, this guy with the cut on his eye, he's got a secret. And Damon Lindelof, who is learning bad lessons already, went, well, what's the secret? J.J. Abrams goes, I don't know. You figure it out.
Right.
They never did.
No.
They never did. That's not the way that you tell a story. And it reminds me of the meme with George Bush waving. And he's like, "Miss me yet?"
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous and stupid because no, we don't miss you. Magic Obama is going to fix the country now for 8 years. But I kind of want to do one with George Lucas waving with no neck and going, "Miss me yet?" I kind of do. Yeah. Because you created a movie that stood on its own. And then when you found out that it did well and you got more money, you told the other two parts of the story that you mostly had in your head. You didn't know they were brother and sister, and the Ewoks were going to be Wookiees or whatever, but you kind of knew where the story was going.
Right.
There was no through line in this at all. Nobody knows where it's going. J.J. Abrams set a bunch of stuff up. Rian Johnson came in and went, I both think it's stupid, and I kind of want to toy with the audience's expectations. And so therefore I will reveal flatly that her parents don't matter, that Snoke is a puppet, a figurehead.
Right.
And although I don't think the idea of creating another emperor-like character in Snoke was very original or a good idea, and I don't think that stringing the audience along as to who Rey's parents are was a good idea, that's the game that we're playing. That's what I sat down to play, and I put the pieces out, and I counted the money out of the bank and everything. That's the game we were going to play, whether we all like this game or not.
Right.
And he just flipped the table over and left nothing in its place.
True.
And so don't they? Isn't the thing now that these companies form like writers' rooms of people to all brainstorm ideas for stuff?
Yeah, you would think so.
They're not checking. He just threw everything away, and now the third movie, J.J. Abrams is going to come back and.
Do what?
Put everything back the way it was? Like the series is fighting against itself now.
Yeah.
It is fighting the Luke's lightsaber is the franchise, and it is getting torn in half by two people.
Which was dumb.
Well, I don't know. It was all right. What'd you think? Talk spoilers.
Well, let's see here. The whole... And you insinuated this already, but the whole casino planet was just useless.
No, yeah, it was.
And
do you want to know?
Time.
Well, I hear. I'm not trying to Cal-splain or whatever, but I don't think you know this, and I think this is what the prevailing theory is. I think that it's Ryan. It looks like Ryan. Ryan Johnson is trying to show us that he's really smart and he's done his homework.
Right.
Okay. So
that don't make the audience feel dumb.
I think that he is self-conscious about his lack of experience, and he's trying to show us, no, I know film history. I'm a big buff. So he gives us this sequence in the casino that is very classic Hollywood-esque. It's got Justin Theroux in a cameo as a guy who's not even an alien. He's just a guy literally in a white tux with a Howard Hughes like mustache. And he's like, "Well, lovey, let's keep betting." Huh?
Right.
That whole sequence when they're riding the cat horses like through a casino, like I just kind of turned to you and I was like, we went to a Star Wars movie, right? This is Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Look at our tickets. What's it say?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I think that's supposed to be reminiscent of, like I said, a classic Hollywood thing. He does a push-in tracking shot that like goes over, you'll see like aliens, and we go between them like over this table and then over another gambling table, and we push into where Finn runs into frame like, ooh. And that is a reference to the famous tracking shot in the 1927 movie Wings, which was like the first Academy Award Best Picture in 1927.
Okay.
And it's like a famous like tracking shot. I think he's doing that. Star Wars movies steal from themselves. He just went to the source. So Star Wars movies, Lucas was stealing from Kurosawa. Other Star Wars movies steal from Lucas. Ryan Johnson just cut out the middleman and just stole from Kurosawa. Okay. So there was a lot of specifically referencing samurai movies, the fight scenes, the characters like sliding their feet, into new positions and holding stuff like that. Only I couldn't tell what was going on in half the fight scenes because the camera work is just so all over the place. And Kurosawa is shaking his head from heaven or the slopes of Mount Yomi or wherever Japanese people go when they die, because he would have pulled the camera way back and just set it on a tripod and just let us see what's going on instead of all this moving around. So I was not a big fan of that. You can talk. Too long?
I liked the lightsaber fight in this. However, it starts in a dumb way because
stakes are good.
Yeah.
Stakes are real good.
But
no stakes. Snoke is dead.
Kylo kills Snoke.
What are we fighting for?
Snoke has no idea that he's getting a lightsaber pull on him.
Yeah.
But not only that, all the guys in red have no idea that...
We don't know who these guys are. We don't care.
But they don't know that he's getting a lightsaber pulled on him either. It's like, you have one job.
Yeah, to defend the Emperor.
Yeah.
I know. But what I'm saying is there are no stakes behind that fight. I don't care at all.
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker lifts rocks and does flips with a puppet on his back in the jungle. Then he comes back, and so this little kid who lugs the power converters is now a Jedi Knight, right?
Right.
And he's going to fight the evil Darth Vader. And they have a fight, and it's all about proving himself because he believes his own press, and we kind of do as well. But both his expectations and ours are destroyed as he is cut into bite-sized sandwich pieces by Darth Vader, toying, not even going full strength on him.
Right.
And so we're watching this dream like die of, I'm going to die right here. I thought I was the hero of this story, and this is over. Right. And then, after losing his sword hand and losing everything, oh, by the way, your entire quest was bullshit because you thought you were avenging your father's death, and I'm your father, and everything you know is a lie.
Yeah.
It's no wonder he jumped off the thing to his death,
Yeah.
Like he lost everything. And you're going to fall and die in the crushing pressures of a gas planet's atmosphere. Like it's nothing. It's all gone.
Yeah.
This is nothing. This is, I really think that you should be good. Well, I think you should join me. What's that? Baldy pizza face? You're dead. And then just like 6 claymation guys fight us, who are all, they're not even trying. They're just samurai suits. And then we just fight them, and you're just watching a fight because, oh boy, it's a fight. Those are the worst fights. Doesn't matter. Who cares?
I guess so.
You can do all the cool moves you want, and all the moves that we all theorized for the last 30 years we do, like, just turn on the lightsaber and use it like a gun in his face.
Right.
Well, if you're going to do that, it's kind of cheating. I know your dark side, but geez. I've also heard that, and I didn't see this so much, but This is it references like a lot of wuxi cinema, which is like kung fu,
Sure.
Hughes Brothers type stuff. Which I saw a little bit, like the guys we were talking about, the Chopsaki guys, the samurai guys.
Yeah.
They all have like chain weapons. They have like these weapons that are kind of like staves, but they break into like, segmented sort of chain swords or whatever.
Right.
Which is a Japanese kind of thing. Again, you're allowed to talk.
I thought that their weapons were cool and they were varied and everything. And
We're talking about weapons?
yeah.
Come on.
And Rey and Kylo had their, it was difficult for them at first, but they were able to get past it. But what I don't understand,
Past what?
They were able to fight these guys with their varied weapons, and
I don't think that's a problem. Shaw Brothers. I said Hughes Brothers.
okay.
Shaw Brothers. So
Okay.
now I can finally get that out. I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I didn't care about any of that. They're and Snoke likes to hang out in the planetarium.
Yep.
We never get it really in Jedi either, or at least you don't know you're getting it. You get these shots of like this tower structure, like this spiky star-shaped tower, and I didn't understand this as a kid, but we're supposed to know that that's the Emperor's throne room.
Oh.
Now, if you've got a giant moon-sized station, why you want your Emperor's throne room at the top of like a water tower where like an airplane can hit it or something?
Yeah, that doesn't make any
It
sense.
doesn't seem very safe to me, but I don't know. I mean, you're wise with the dark side. This is supposed to reference that, but did we ever get an establishing shot to know that this is some kind of dome or something?
I don't
Because it
think
is.
so.
It's a giant like Perspex dome or something like that. And we only know that at the end of it once the red curtains or covering or whatever catches fire. So you've got a very cool thing where Finn and Rey are breaking up basically, and there's like this cinders and stuff falling all around them, and you see the outside of the ship and the battle going on. But you had to, and this movie suffers from a lot of this, you kind of wrote to that point.
Yeah.
You had in your mind, wouldn't it be cool if they were standing in a thing and fire was coming down? Okay, how do we get there?
Right.
Here's how we get there. The Snoke, his throne room is in a bubble on the outside of the ship, and for some reason he hangs a lot of red construction paper so it looks like an evil planetarium, and then that'll catch fire at some point.
Right.
What?
Right.
He's even got a magnifying glass thing that just made me think of like instrument. I just thought it was a planetarium. I don't know. It's dumb.
Yeah.
It was a choice.
It was a choice.
I think that it is supposed to reference like Kurosawa movies, like Ron. There's a lot of like use of color in that, and so it's supposed to
Right.
look that way. But can't hear the jerk off motion I'm making. Who cares? Boy.
Well, and then we never see how Rey gets away from Kylo, and the next time we see him, he's just unconscious.
Don't care.
And
That's the least of
That's
this movie's
immaterial?
storytelling problems.
okay.
It's got so many problems. Another writing backward thing is that you've got this. Okay, look, I understand the technology of your universe and the rules that dictate it. You could have a slow motion spaceship chase,
Sure.
but why would you?
It's not very exciting.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, why? I could argue that the people our plucky crew of Han, Leia, Chewie, and 3PO and R2. Not R2. He's on Dagobah. Going to Cloud City doesn't matter. Like that, sure, you get Lando in there and all that stuff, but like that confrontation
Right.
between Luke and Vader could have taken place anywhere. They could have been captured anywhere. There's nothing really specific plot-wise that's important about Cloud City. But what you get is Luke going off and not being able to help them to his own problems with training on Dagobah, and then you get them caught up in this adventure where they bounce from, they're in the belly of a worm and they have to go through the asteroid field and they bounce back and forth and they're being tracked by Boba Fett and they go to Cloud City. And all this time they are experiencing the kind of adventure we want in this film, and yet that is bringing them closer.
Right.
That exists as well in the prequels. There's just no emotion behind it and we don't care. Like
Right.
that literally happens in Attack of the Clones, where Padme and Anakin go through all this stuff, and it's just like two mannequins, clack, 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 just pushing them together.
Right.
Like they're Barbie dolls kissing. But the structure's there. This is like, who cares about any of this?
Right.
It doesn't matter between... I know they're trying to set that up between Finn and Rose. It doesn't feel emotional. I don't care. I like the idea of a character like Rose, and I feel like she is completely empty. She only exists and only works because you fridged her sister at the beginning of the film,
which is terrible.
I think it's great that they've got a non-white actress like playing this role, but she's just like, we gotta do the thing. She's just that plucky character that, like Gamora at her worst in Guardians of the Galaxy, where she's just, come on guys, stop having fun, we gotta get back on the plot.
Right.
And they free a bunch of like horses, but don't free the kids that take care of the horses. And she's like, those horses are free now. What about the kids? So just slave kids. Thank God those cat horses are free. That's just another thing that doesn't make any sense. It's an idea you had. You didn't think about how it looks in like the overlying sort of philosophy of the movies themselves. But it's cool that the kid makes a broom move an inch because he's lazy. He's a lazy little shit. I don't know. There's nothing you could have done. There is nothing you could have done. If you had known that Carrie Fisher was going to drop dead, you could have switched her with Laura Dern.
Yeah.
So she introduces Laura Dern as a character who is also in the leadership. Because I don't know where Mon Mothma is.
Right.
And Poe doesn't like her because he always he thought of Leia as his mom or like work buddy or whatever.
Right.
And so he's jealous and maybe actually motivate his insubordination at all besides just, I think I'm really great. Like put some emotion behind it. But then you've got that. So then Leia's kind of like, all right, go ahead. And they're like, why aren't you coming with? Well, somebody's got to fly the ship. And then she's the one that like goes out to blaze of glory.
Right.
Instead of surviving and then just not being in the next movie.
Right.
I mean, there's no way they could have known. There's nothing you can do about that. The movie's done. I respect the fact that they didn't go, well, let's do what I just said, but we'll just do it with like beep beep robot Princess Leia.
Right.
Although I had no problems with beep beep robot Princess Leia when she's flying through space, which I found incredibly stupid. Just so stupid.
Yeah.
Just so stupid.
That was dumb.
So anyway, I can't blame him for that. But if you're going to do something like that, introduce an entirely new character like Laura Dern, give her some background, tell me why I should care. Boy, the Red Pill guys are going to go nuts that, it's another woman telling a guy who's clearly capable what to do.
Right.
I don't look at it like that, but why feed the trolls? Like, why give them that?
Right.
If you're going to set up this thing where, even though he's clearly like 40 years old, he's the hotshot, young guy that needs to listen to authority, then make some clear lines as to like what's going on, because her plan did suck.
Her plan was
just keep going in one direction, and then eventually everybody would just go away, but it wouldn't work.
Right.
And then she would just ram her ship into their ships.
Right.
What? Give me something, please! I'm so sick of talking about it, and we just started.
Well, and then like she was like, okay, go in the escape pods, and they're not going to notice you because they're just fixated on the big ship. Yeah. And then Benicio del Toro like sells them out somehow. He knows. How does he know?
I don't know. Aren't we past stuttering characters?
I thought we were.
It used to be in those Hollywood days of old. If you had a character that had a stutter, that character is weak, or we should make fun of them, or they're a bad guy. I'm sure Peter Lorre had more than a few characters that stuttered.
I'm sure he did.
We're bringing that back now?
Apparently.
And it's like real inconsistent, and I mean, what? That was a choice that somebody made at some point, possibly Mr. Del Toro himself.
Possibly.
Nobody went, don't do that.
Let's not do that.
You got your weird little Jughead hat, and they look all greasy. We get it. You're riding the line of good and bad. We understand.
Right.
We don't need you to help us figure that out.
Right.
Dumb.
Was not a strong choice.
No, all my criticisms can link together, and I will continue by saying, don't politicize. Didn't you learn? Didn't you learn from this is how democracy dies? Refresh on a surprise. I don't want any political commentary in my Star Wars. I don't think it's the place for it. It's not sophisticated storytelling. It's epic. It's mythic. It appeals to the basic ideas of heroism. I sell stuff to both sides. Looks like the rebels have been buying some of my illegal stuff too.
Right.
I don't care. And also, if you're going to do it, then do it. Make it an arc on rebels or something like that. Don't put one line in there and I'm supposed to go, ooh, it's so politically wise.
Right.
Because you never explore. If you want to talk about politics, how many of the quote unquote good guys, the Rebel Alliance or the Resistance in this case, achieve their goal in this film by suicide bombing, basically?
I know.
They fly their ships into shit and we're supposed to cheer. Yay, you killed yourself. Yay.
Right.
I always got in the original films that this was tough. We're the flying leathernecks. We're in X-wings. We got to attack this space station. It's suicide. It's figuratively. It's as big as a moon, and we're gonna do it.
Right.
We got to get there. We got to watch each other's backs, and we got to get in there. And it's gonna be tough, and we're not all gonna come home. We're gonna lose Loopy and Left Eye and Captain Trips, and we're going to lose some of these guys.
Right.
We got to get out there and do it. And this is literally just, we can't win. Let's auger it in, guys. It's kamikazes.
It is.
I understand that they're desperate, but they never stop to explore what happens, like the political and social ramifications of one side of the war deciding that they need to kill themselves in order to kill the enemy. I think that's very, very prescient. That's very closely related to what's going on in our current politics.
Yes.
And nobody ever comments on that.
No. Because why would they?
I almost think that it's a construction. It's a dumb construction, but it's constructed that we're conspicuously supposed to see a lot of these characters, make the ultimate sacrifice, kill themselves to kill bad guys, and then at the end, Rose doesn't allow Finn to kill himself.
Yes.
And just says, we shouldn't be doing this. And I'm like, you're right. But that was true through all of this movie that I watched.
Right.
And 2 people learned that lesson. And honestly, I like Finn and all, but that's probably when you probably should have done the suicide thing. I feel like, you know what I mean? I feel like the suicide thing could have been avoided in many other situations. But yeah, if they've got this battering ram and they're going to kill the last of and flying into it can stop them, yeah, you probably should have just done that.
Probably.
So you screwed up. Rose, you screwed up. That leads me, they're all connected. That leads me to another thing. I hate the stupid video game logic of these dumbass movies. Like, it's one thing, like in Star Wars, when you're taking, all right, it's dumb. There's a hole in a trench on a thing. Like, it's all weird and it doesn't make any sense, but it's all sort of related to 40s movies. Like, there was literally a mission. It was a bunch of I can't remember what it's called, but it was these team and they were dam busters. And the idea was that there was a dam on a German, maybe French lake that the Germans were using. They needed to knock out this dam in order to stop electricity for factory production, whatever. It was going to help the war. And so they came up with this rig where the bombers would fly low over the lake that was being dammed, and they would drop these bombs, and the bombs had like floaters on them, so they would like skip and bounce a couple times, and they were designed to then like roll into, like inside a bomb in an inner tube basically, would roll into the top part of the dam, blow it up, and then the water would take care of the rest. It would destroy the dam, it would flood the town, and they did it. They pulled it off. And it was like seen as like, you could see it on, I don't know, the History Channel, like the weird weapons of World War II or whatever. And they had to practice this thing. They had to get it exactly right. It didn't work out at first, and they finally made it work. That's what the trench run is based on. Okay. It's the idea that there are these little fighters, like these Mustang fighters that are going to go in and they have to do something very specific. Right?
Sure.
That has turned into the dumbest, already ready to be Lego Star Wars minigame sort of thing, where ships do ridiculous, stupid things and I don't understand what the value is in them winning the war or the specific conflict or whatever. Like, there's this thing where at the beginning where Poe's got to shoot all the cannons down or whatever. Once he does, then the bombers can fly over the top of the ship and bomb it. He gets all but one.
Yep.
Bombers often fly under heavy flak and like heavy anti-aircraft, and they still get their job done. Couldn't you just go with one? Yeah. There's one more turret at the very back of the thing. You couldn't get some bombers in? And instead he flies around for the next 10 minutes trying to kill this one thing. And it's like, you got most of them. That's a pretty good ratio.
Yes.
But there's all these dumb sort of plot coupon things set up that don't make any sense. And here's the thing that doesn't make the most sense. There are new bombers. They have actual bomb racks. Again, we're going back to the old World War II movies or whatever, right? So these bombs drop out.
Right.
And it didn't occur to me, because I was in the world of the film while I was watching it, but then I had a fridge moment later on. They're in space.
Yeah.
Where are the bombs dropping to?
Oh, good point.
There's no down.
Good point.
It's the stupidest bomb delivery ever.
Yeah.
In earlier films, you had these things called Y-wings, and they shot glowing things that were bombs that were launched out and would hit something and had more of a payload than a normal concussion missile or something like that.
Right.
They're dropping these racks of stuff, and it's like, where is it going? How does it go down?
That's a good point.
It just doesn't make any sense.
I didn't think about that while I was watching the film.
Yeah. And it's because Rian Johnson doesn't care. He just wants you to know that he's seen some movies before.
Yeah.
You say something.
I think that Phasma wasn't in this enough.
No.
We were told she was going to have a larger role in this film, and I don't think she does. I think maybe it's slightly more pivotal than... It's
not pivotal at all. She shows up at the end. She has less time than she does in The Force Awakens.
Yes.
Point.
None. I just didn't think that they gave her enough to do.
No, she doesn't have anything to do. She's literally there to face, I was going to say Ren at the end. Finn at the end, yeah. And it's dumb.
Yep.
They have a fight. I don't care. Is there some kind of... She was such a joke in the first one. I didn't feel that there was some kind of simmering conflict between them still.
I didn't feel like there was either.
And it is... I mean, you could bring anybody back from anything. If she comes back in the third film, she'll be like a brain in a jar with some robot legs because, you know, she burned up or whatever.
Right.
And then Finn will just push her off a cliff and then ha 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 again. It'll be funny one more time.
No, it won't.
No, it wasn't. It hasn't been funny up to this point.
No.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. And there are just there's no rules about anything. When Indiana Jones came back, it was dumb for Crystal Skull. But it followed this thing of the series, which is, what's a guy do? You punch a guy, you can shoot a guy, or you can whip a guy, right?
Right.
Put two guys in a room with curved walls, you know, sand on the floor, and they'll just beat you to death, and the winner is our hero, I guess.
Right.
I don't know where I'm going with this. The point is that Indiana Jones has always been about utility. The whip is an item of utility. You can grab somebody. You can pull a gun out of their hand. You can swing from something.
Right.
So sure, he's got that 45, but it's always been about him and his surroundings. He's wrestling with the guy. The guy gets the whip around his neck, and then he throws the whip up into the ceiling fan and hangs the guy or whatever.
Right.
Or he rolls over him with a mining cart or something like that. And they brought that back in the fourth one in a bad way, in a big way. I mean, the fridge is, you know, literally nuking the fridge is like the perfect full-on expression of that. But it's still there. That idiom is there.
Sure.
We come back to this, and they've suddenly added that idiom to this. I don't feel like that was ever a thing. Like, every once in a while, somebody will hit a switch or something like that, all too easy or something. But it's basically like two guys just monoing.
Yes.
But now you've got Finn and Phasma and all these characters doing stuff, and like she throws him down a thing, and it's like, we won't see him until he comes back. And then those things are elevators, I guess, right? Because they raise and lower fighters or something. But so he comes back up and he's like, hey, like he's Bruce Willis.
I know.
he hits her.
I know.
And it must have been really hard because it cracks her helmet open. I'm just describing what happens in the scene. I just think it's really dumb. It's very on Star Wars.
It's
just
very
on Star Wars. Yeah.
And then you see her eye, so you're supposed to connect with her humanity or something like that.
No, you're just supposed to. Her armor, her shell has been broken.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You're a scum,
Rebel scum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a lot of complaining.
I know you do.
I could keep going.
I know you could. Let's see here. What else?
I think you could. Well, I've said this before. You can tell it was written in 5 months and not 15 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are a lot of areas where, like things that we described, where there's just some ridiculous contrivance or just some hand wavy, don't worry about it thing to get to a point that they wanted to get. And if you had more time, you could massage your story to get to connect the dots that you want to connect. Or you'd change some of the dots. You would go,
right.
I don't know how we're going to get us here, so let's do something a little different. But instead, they knew what they wanted. Let's have a casino. Let's have a bunch of AT-ATs shooting at Luke Skywalker. Let's do Hoth again, but we don't want to do snow again.
Right.
So it takes place in this planet covered with salt.
Right.
But people won't know that. Well, I think they'll know it because, nobody's wearing like heavy fur coats and the sun is beating down. No. Let's have a character taste it and go, salt. That's how stupid they think we are.
I know.
So you shouldn't be surprised about whenever they deliver you.
I know.
Salt. That's the salt moment. I hope that becomes a meme.
I hope it does too.
It's the point in a movie where it's clear that the movie does not respect you. The movie has, if you were wondering or you had any question, it does not.
Yeah.
I'd like to go back now and try to identify that point in other movies. But salt. Don't lick things that are on the ground, guy. You don't. Is it a poison planet? You don't know.
It reminds me
could be cyanide. You don't know what it is.
Reminds me of X-Files when Mulder
would just sniff things
and stuff like that, and you're like, why are you doing that, Mulder?
Yeah. Also, we talked about references to older films. You've literally got your good guys hiding in a castle, right, behind a thick door, and the bad guys come with a battering ram.
Yeah.
So you're Ryan Johnson, and you describe that, and they go, "Great, okay. So, what's what do they bring? What does the First Order bring to like break into this thing? Like some great weapon, or is it some kind of thing? Like what's it called? Battering ram cannon. Yeah, I think we can top that though. Like is it the photonalyzer or something like that? It's like battering ram cannon, salt." Maybe I'm just an adult now and these movies are for little babies, but jeez.
I know. I did think it was kind of cool how Luke Skywalker was...
Yeah, let's talk about Luke and Rey.
Okay.
And then let's think about wrapping it up.
Okay. He doesn't train her.
No, she gets no training.
All.
She gets zero training.
And yet she's still like
there's
magical.
There's one part where she's
Jedi
like
child.
working out in the morning and he comes down and she starts going like whoa, 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 and he's kind of like, yeah, it's pretty good. And he didn't tell her any of that.
No.
she's fully. So first of all, I don't want them to repeat all the Dagobah bits. Please don't.
Right.
But at this point, it almost seems like that would have made sense to do because now it's, speaking of the red pill Tumblr people or whatever, they're not going to be any more happy.
No.
Because now she already knows, he didn't teach her how to fight or anything. Like, she's just really good at everything.
It's not like she
forever.
read the Jedi texts either.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, also, Jedi texts, that's a real J.J. Abrams thing. What's going to be in these texts? Who cares?
I don't know.
Also, I still, this is something that I think is interesting that I don't think you're going to derail in a $250 million movie to explore it, but this is the first time we've seen a paper book in the Star Wars universe. Like, we didn't know that paper existed up to this point. This is a civilization, a galaxy-spanning civilization that has had hyperdrive, so at least they've had space travel for almost 20,000 years. So they've evolved it's like on Farscape, when John Crichton first gets on the thing and he's trying to figure out some calculations. He's like, paper, I need paper. And all these aliens on this fantastic ship are like, what? What's he talking about? Yeah, what's paper? So anyway, there are books in Star Wars.
Yes.
They aren't extended universe books, though. We know that.
No.
Got them. Yeah. I like the idea of a burned out Luke.
Yeah.
I just don't think that the movie knows exactly what to do with it, and because it's a movie for little babies, they're not going to go as far as they need to.
Right.
Which is to say, make it real dark and weird. Because when he starts training her, he's almost... The movie never fully forms his philosophy. Is he just bitter, or has he now come to this new philosophy of balance, which is the Jedi are bullshit, the Sith is bullshit. Just be, man. Like, is that... It's kind of what he espouses, but also there's a lot of bitterness too. And so he sits her down. He's like, I'm going to train you. And she sits down, and he immediately starts training her how you think a Jedi Master would, which is calm your emotions, reach out with your feelings, and that sort of thing. And then he starts whispering all these little things in her ear, about how the Jedi are bullshit.
Yeah. I
liked all that stuff, but she would just then do some weird Rey thing, and we would not talk about that stuff anymore.
Right.
It's underwritten.
It is underwritten.
You start to see how a little puppet talking to the guy from Corvette Summer in a fake swamp can be deceivingly deep in the kind of new agey BS, which is like, oh, it's, I feel it. It's in the rock. It's over here. It's over there. There is a depth of it's sort of like if you meet the movie halfway, you'll get more than you bargained for. Because the lines themselves are very simple, but what it's suggesting leads to hundreds and hundreds of books that don't matter anymore and are not very well written. And so I don't envy this movie's task of having to pick that up and go, where do we go from here?
Right.
Well, we go to a Harry Potter scene. Clearly.
Yes.
You look into the smoky mirror to see your parents.
Right.
What the hell?
Thank God they didn't show her parents, though.
Well, they didn't show them at all because they don't matter. Movie... You told me they mattered. You haven't pulled any kind of trick on me.
Yes.
I'm not the one who thought they mattered. You said they mattered.
Right.
So you just make yourself look stupid.
Well, but here's the thing.
They bring Maz Kanata back in a completely stupid, fully... All she does is just go, oh, he's gotta go get this guy. Who they never get.
No,
they get the wrong guy.
Do.
Or maybe that's the guy the whole time. Who cares? And it's a fully CG video game role. You're just looking at her Twitch stream as she's like, doing something else. And it's, anyway. Sorry, you were going to say?
I was going to say, I forgot what I was going to say.
It's about Rey and the smoky mirror. The mirror of Magoobagoos.
Kylo, when he tells her about his parents, is he telling the truth or is he lying?
I don't know now. Looking back, retrospectively, if there's one thing that Lucas knew, I think it's that, at least, look, maybe when he was writing the Journal of the Wills when he was an undergrad, he didn't know the whole twist. But he definitely talked to Coppola, or somebody, and came up with the twist. And I feel like the twist was there for most of it, through Star Wars,
Right.
They don't know where they're going. There is no twist. There is no answer to that. That answer has not been written. So when James Earl Jones recorded that line, Lucas knew it was true. And people in 1980, they asked themselves the same thing until, 3 years later when the next movie came out, people thought, we're going to finally get the answer. And there were people who were like, he's lying. Why would he? All he wants to do is torture Luke. Why would he tell him the truth?
Right.
There were different camps on that. There were different sides. But the answer existed.
Right.
This answer does not exist. So I don't even feel like speculating. They're just going to give me something that will hopefully pay off some of my interest in this.
Right.
But I don't know. I feel like it's Rian Johnson's just attempt to just stab back at what he thought was kind of shoddy construction in the first movie. And it's like, well, dude, you work for the same company.
Yeah, no kidding.
Work together.
Yeah.
Weak. I had something real specific I was going to yell about, and I'm just so tired now. I don't even know.
Well, I was also going to say...
Harry Potter!
Sorry. Oh, Harry Potter?
No, go ahead.
I thought that Luke showing up in the final battle the way he did was kind of cool. And it was unexpected. And
it's cool, but it's another one of those things where, we know the Force is powerful. You'd expect him to be powerful, but if you can do stuff like that, if your characters have godlike powers, then where are the stakes?
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I mean?
true.
And if all these characters are going to die, I'm glad we picked up the phone and called that Luke guy. All these characters are going to die, and you've got a character that can literally take on an entire army from across the galaxy, but he can only do it once.
Right.
Then what does anything matter? Who cares? This is dumb.
I don't know.
I just liked it when the Jedi were somewhat self-aware, or they could kind of read others, not their minds, but they were wiser than most people, and they had swords. That's a samurai movie, right?
Right.
But now they're flipping and flying and flapping and flipping and flooping and
moving rocks.
Yeah, why didn't they run really fast? They got rid of that power. They decided that power was stupid. Well, I feel like the power where you're not even there and you project yourself across millions of light years or whatever, and you're a hologram, kind of, but you can also hug people and give them objects that will stay around after you go.
Yeah.
It's what is this power?
Right.
Is this just the plot power that just does whatever you want it to?
Because if it's that, then it's dumb.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's dumb. Exactly. Yes, it's dumb. Here's something else that's dumb. The bond between Kylo and Rey. I do like their conversations. I do like their clashes of philosophy, although I think that those are underwritten as well. But contrive some way to get them, have them. So she's a pilot, right?
Right.
She's supposed to be. She doesn't fly a ship at all in this movie.
Yeah.
Or in any danger or whatever. Or does she? Who cares if I'm wrong or not? I don't care. She probably blows some.
I don't think she does.
Well, no, because Chewie's flying when they end up on Salt Planet.
Yeah.
So whatever. Have some contrivance where they do an enemy mine thing and they crash land on a planet, and they fight for a while, but then they get tired, and then it's just well, look, we both have to get off this planet. This sounds like an extended universe book or something, or an episode of the TV show, but
right.
Do something like that.
Right.
Don't have them have this mind conversation, which, here's one of those things that seemed like a good idea, might have worked on stage or something, but I felt in the execution did not work at all. I'm just going to kind of look off screen, off center of camera in one scene. Then we'll cut to your scene on a different set, and we'll shoot it like you're in the same room, but you're in totally different sets on different days.
Yes.
And to me, that just seems I know how editing works, that there's no magic in that to me.
Right.
This is where you've got the $300 million. Put it in there. Have him appear like a evil Obi-Wan ghost or something. And he can walk around and they can interact in a scene together instead of just cut back and forth. Boring.
It was kind of boring.
Although I did like when he's just got his pants that come up to his boobs.
Yes.
He's so goofy looking, but kind of hot at the same time.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I know that he's 32 or whatever, but it just says greasy teenager to me in so many ways, Yeah. And then she's like, can you put a shirt on or something?
I know.
She's kind of grossed out, but she's maybe kind of into it too.
Yeah.
I want a whole movie of that. I don't care about cat dogs and all this other garbage. That is interesting to me.
I agree.
Every time we cut back to them, I knew I'd have to sit through the stupid reverse shot thing where effect that they spent no money on when there's all this other money being spent on bullshit. But I wanted to see those scenes. And then we come back to just Rose and Finn.
I know.
And they're messing around.
I know.
Dumb. And bombs that fall in space. Think about it. Any final thoughts?
I'd say see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See Admiral Akbar get killed off screen.
Yeah, I know. But I think overall it's worth the price of admission.
Stop with the cliches.
What?
How do you really feel? Here's something else. I've seen Rashomon. Good for you. Good for you, Rian Johnson. You know, when you think about it, except for Rogue One, where it literally starts in the past, but we are in the action of the film. And then later on, I think Jing Jong, Stardust, whatever the character's name, Jyn Erso. I think she falls asleep or something and has a dream about when she saw Krennic in her house when she was a kid or something.
Yeah.
There aren't flashbacks in a Star Wars movie.
That's true.
There's something about the epic storytelling of this saga that we don't go backwards. We never get flashbacks. This is like, screw it, there's flashbacks.
Yeah.
We just flash back. It's not a forced vision. It's just literally somebody going, and that day I do, and we're just flashing back.
Right.
And for me, that's like a lot of voiceover or like a big, extended title card at the beginning of the movie. That's a failure of storytelling to me. And I know that they wanted to set up a Rashomon type thing where I say it happened this way, this guy says it happened this way. Maybe the truth's a little in the middle.
Right.
A balance. I get it.
Right.
But for somebody who's trying to show me how smart you are, this is really dumb. Maybe for a general audience who hasn't seen Rashomon, that's a good use of that technique. But you're trying to show me how smart you are. I am also smart, and it's not. You're showing me that you put together the big boy 6-piece puzzle. Ooh, it's got a race car. Wow, that's okay. I apologize, Rian Johnson. That was a little too far. Rose over accessorizes.
Yeah.
How many pieces of jewelry that she wears are going to be related to her character arc?
Apparently, at least 2.
What a great new character! And you can buy her jewelry at
sure.
at geek.com. Yeah.
That decoder ring. Whew.
Yeah. I just hate the way they pulled the rug out from under us. It's like the scene in UHF. There's the mystery box. It's like, what's in the box? I don't know. Nothing. Stupid. Yeah. Well, you made me play the game. It's your game. Who's stupid? All right. Are we done?
I think we're done.
Yeah. I just want to complain about one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
I also don't want. We talked about the humor, how forced it is, and how it's too modern. This is supposed to be a long time ago.
Yeah.
So you want to do the butterscotch jokes,
right?
And they don't really work, or you should maybe give them to one character. We all agreed that when they were dragging C-3PO around the arena in Attack of the Clones, and he's like, "This is such a drag." We were all like, "I'll kill you! Ah, that's the worst thing ever." And then you've got things in this like, "Oh, can he come to the phone? Oh, I'm sorry, he's busy right now," or whatever. And it's like, what?
Right.
So much of the humor was like that. Not page turners, they are. A joke that would be dumb and boring on The Big Bang Theory isn't funny just because you say it in reverse order.
That's true.
First order. There's just a lot of things like that. And there's a lot of modern colloquialisms. We've all seen the thing where the king is killed by treachery, and then the guy who kills him is like, "The king is dead. Long live the king." The king's me, right? Right. They literally do that in this movie.
They do.
It's like, what? That's so stupid. That's so first draft. That's a placeholder.
Yeah.
You go, okay, that's the emotion of it. But what are the words?
Right.
Maybe no words. Maybe it's just, I don't think that, and it chokes him. Can we talk about Hux?
Yes, we can
He's
talk about
full
Hux.
cartoon character now.
Yeah.
He is full Bugs Bunny doing a Hitler parody cartoon. He is not even a real person anymore.
Right.
And I don't like Domhnall Gleeson really as an actor.
Okay.
Sorry, I just don't. But now I feel bad for him. In the first movie, I was like, screw you, you're ruining this. Now I realize there's nothing he can do. This is clearly just what they're giving him. There's nowhere to go with this material. They've just made him a total joke. I hate Nazis too, but he is half of the entire bad guy force. Anybody remember in the original movies when the bad guys were just guys in their mid-50s who were just kind of doing their job?
Right.
And they were just kind of bored.
Right.
They're just what are these rebels up to now? And they're just trying to get things done. They were bureaucrats.
Right.
Maybe bureaucrat was the worst thing you could be in 1977. Well, apparently the worst thing you can be in 2017 is just a screaming, cartoon person of a Nazi.
Yeah.
That's not a compelling villain.
No.
Like Kylo Ren, when they can figure out what it is he wants, or even figure out the fact that he doesn't know what he wants, he is so much more fascinating than anybody around him. And you need more than just Kylo Ren.
You do.
Even Snoke at the end, and he's done, was never really a thing. Like once he gets Rey and Rey and Kylo up there, he just starts immediately like, oh, we watched Incredibles the other day. He just starts monologuing.
Yeah.
To the point where he's monologuing so much, literally doesn't see death 2 inches to his right.
That's right.
And he's just like, I set this up, and I did this. And the Emperor did all this in 1983, a lot better than you're doing now.
Right.
So, why?
I don't know.
Supreme Leader's dead. Long live the Supreme Leader. Also, how did you get unconscious? I don't know, but I'm fine.
I know,
I'll
right?
Just get up. It's fine now. Take my Nelly Band-Aid off. Dumbest thing in the world. How do you show a bunch of rich people which does not like them? You show a close-up shot of a bottle of champagne popping. We're in a rich person's place.
Right.
On my other show that I don't do enough, Craft to Services, I have a ongoing segment where if we're watching a bad movie, and bad movies do this, and we're now in a scene where rich people are walking around, they always play na 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 na.
Yeah.
That is the rich people party music.
Yes.
And you listen. You listen the next time you're watching like a so-so B or C movie. I guarantee that will be playing during a party scene.
Yeah.
And the champagne, close up on a champagne popping, and then people laughing, like that is the visual version of that gag. I'm ready for Ron Howard.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Solo's going to be any good, but we need to get these kids out of here. Let's get a, talented, but at least let's get an experienced filmmaker with a voice in here and see what he does with the Star Wars movie. That's what I say.
Okay.
We done?
Yeah, I think we're done.
I thought there'd be a little more. Okay, we're done. So, see it?
Yeah, I say see it.
You're absolutely going to see it. I can't stop you from seeing it. I can't stop you from seeing it. You're going to see it. But I think even now, especially after The Force Awakens, people were like, "That's good. It's good." They weren't crazy about it.
Yeah.
I think people are ready to start poking holes in things like this. I've already seen it's in the high 80s for Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, it's going to be there for a while.
Right.
But I've already seen think pieces and people are like, "But why this and why that?" And when you think, I was thinking about last thing, and we'll move on. I was thinking about this the other day. So this movie, this is something that we didn't talk about at all. You're supposed to remind me because this is my big revelation.
Okay.
So you've got the two everything has two choices, right?
Okay, sure.
So you can pet the dog or you can kick the dog.
Okay.
Those have a value to them, or like we clearly know what's going on in those choices. So maybe they're not the right choices, but like you can do what we expect from the series, do what has been done before. It's like poetry, it rhymes, right? So
right.
You're going to have a character go train with a mentor. It's going to mirror something else, or you can reflexively, against what we have seen before and our expectations, you can do a different thing and take, you can swerve off and do something else.
Right.
Which is a answer, a foil, a reflection of that original choice.
Right.
At every point where it could do that, this movie chooses the third choice, which is set the dog on fire and throw it out the window.
Oh my gosh.
They pick a choice that is somehow tries to break out of the frame, try to break out of the binary choice of these two things, but is not a leveling up to anything. It is merely just, it's like it's tipping the game board over and just going, I don't want to play. And it's like, well, you have to play, sort of.
Right.
And this happens in, all of the kind of major choices in this where you go, well, Luke did this, so what if Rey does this?
Right.
But they don't do that. They set up a similar situation, and then they go off in some other way that managed to be a worse choice than doing it badly. Because you're not reminding me. I'm blanking on all my great examples of it. But I'll give you this, though. This movie doesn't want to doesn't want to be thought of as the new Empire Strikes Back, and so it steals a bunch from Jedi as well. Like, it ransacks Empire and Jedi. The only thing they don't have in this is them flying through an asteroid field.
Right.
And that's because Guardians of the Galaxy 2 already stole it. It got half of Empire in the divorce, and so now they have to do this and some of Jedi as well. And when you think about the reasons that Luke goes to face the Emperor, I complained before about characters going on suicide missions,
right?
Spitefully or whatever, or just like that, seeing that as their only option. Luke in Jedi goes to what he knows to be his death. He expects to die.
Yes.
But he does not want to kill anybody. He wants to basically die at the hands of the Emperor, or not even at the hands of the Emperor. He wants to just run the clock out. He knows if he could get the Emperor talking long enough, the rebels will drop the shield, they'll attack the Death Star, they'll destroy it. He'll be on it when it goes, but they will have destroyed this horrible weapon and taken out the Emperor in the process, and the galaxy is safe for fuzzy little teddy bears everywhere.
Right.
And then he gets drawn into this. The Emperor knows the plans. He's known the whole time. He just wants to pit a father and son against each other because he's cruel and maniacal, and he knows that the hate that and anguish that comes out of that will, forge a servant for him that he can use. It's smashing my toys together, and whichever one survives is the best one.
Right.
So Luke is going there for that reason, and then he has to deal with all this stuff that he didn't expect when he gets there. Why does Rey go to Snoke?
She goes to Kylo.
Right.
Because she thinks she can turn him.
Right, but what's her strategy? Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yes.
And then
That's
she gets
her
there.
Strategy.
She's never met Snoke.
No.
She doesn't know who this person is.
No.
And he's like, well, here you are. And she's like, what? What is all this? What's going on?
Right.
What a confrontation.
Right.
So steeped thematically in emotion and history.
No.
When it has nothing to do. It's just a pale reflection.
It is.
And then it doesn't matter anyway. Like, Snoke didn't even have to be in this one. Snoke could have just sat it out. They could have decided, we don't really know what to do with this character, so we'll just say that he's getting, like, his face resurfaced or something, and we can just push it off to the third movie. It's JJ's character anyway. No, Rian Johnson, he's going to tip the board over. We're playing my game now.
Right.
All right, I'm done.
Okay.
We'll definitely, these will never go away. We'll definitely be talking about this in the future. We don't have to spend it all now, but very disappointed. Very disappointed. And the one act, it's another act of suicide bombing. The one thing that I thought was really original and striking visually was the Lightspeed suicide bomb when she flies the ship. But my thing is like, all right, if you guys don't care, if you don't have like any philosophical, if you don't object philosophically to suicide bombings, you guys should have been doing this for years. Jeez. Get every Mon Calamari cruiser you've got and just start winging them into other ships. If this is something you can do.
Yeah.
Those questions are not answered in the film. But it is a striking, amazing visual sequence.
It is.
And the kind of thing that it goes totally silent in the theater. And whether it was Johnson's idea or whoever, I think they knew that it would be so shocking that when it goes silent, you wouldn't hear cheering or even gasps. Like, people in the audience are just quiet too. So suddenly you're in a room with 400 people, and the sound goes off in the movie, and everybody's dead quiet because we're all just like watching this thing.
Right.
Like, that is what I go to cinema for. Like, that worked.
Yes.
But come on, did you use it all on that? Nothing else in the movie makes you feel that way.
That's true.
The broom moved! Oh, the broom moved! Oh, I love Star Wars! All right, that's it. Well, hopefully you don't hate us for not loving Star Wars The Last Jedi necessarily. Something that frustrated me that we didn't talk about. When you name your movie, make sure there's a noun in it that is differentiated from the other movies.
Yeah.
Now when I talk about this movie in shorthand, what do I say? Did you see Jedi? Yeah, like 30 years ago.
Right.
No. Last Jedi.
Right.
Oh, right.
There's no way to differentiate it.
Right. You've got New Hope. You can't really like shorten that.
No.
New Hope, Empire, Jedi, Menace. Maybe whoever talks about the Phantom
I don't
Menace.
know.
Phantom Menace. Clones, Sith.
Yep.
Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Can't really.
You
Okay,
can't really
look, my
shorten
theory
that
still
either.
works. And okay, all right. Last Jedi, fine. But if the next one is going to be, purple hippopotamus, I suggest something shorter, something a little shorter. Galaxy at War. I know that's the name of a Android game or something, but do you call it Galaxy? Or something?
Sure.
Yeah. What are they going to do, man?
I don't know.
How are they going to bring this to a close? How are they going to wrap this up?
I'm not sure how they're going to wrap this up.
I know they don't know.
Yeah, that too.
And you used to say that's why they got the big bucks, but now I think they just get big bucks. I don't think that it's contingent on them accomplishing anything. Enough! We've talked about it enough. I think we should move on and close this show up. I would say that you could follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Come talk to us. Tell us what you thought about these films, because I ain't hating, man. I love that people love stuff. I love that you love stuff. But I did promise last week that I was going to be honest.
That's true.
And that is my truth that I have to follow. But I want to hear your opinion as well, listener. So go to Facebook and Twitter, search for Just Enough Trope, and that's where we are. You can also find us on your favorite podcasting, iTunesy, platformies, things. Did you hear that iTunes is actually, it was going to come to Windows 10.
Yeah.
It's a brand new dawn, and that's been delayed.
Oh, boy.
So I don't know how that's going to affect our iTunes listeners. But if you're on iTunes, or I should say Apple Podcasts, or Google Play, or Stitcher, any of those great places, that's where you can get our show. If you're not getting it there already, go there, search for Just Enough Trope, and subscribe to the show so it comes right to you when it's ready to go. And also, if you'd leave us a rating and a review, we'd appreciate it. We want a review because we want to know what you think about us and how you think we're doing. I mean, we need a rating because that's how we move up in the ranks. When we get a good rating, then we get exposed to more people. That's how
right.
the algorithm works, how the computers work in the Star Wars universe, how droids can feel pain and pride and sorrow, and yet we still make them get our clothes for us.
Oh,
if
God.
you can square that, you can square anything. Forget the light side and the dark side. This is a galaxy built on slavery. And that's the kind of commentary you can get if you follow us. So give us 5 slow chases through space. So slow. But fraught with tension.
Yes.
I'd say don't do that. I'd say just give us 5 stars.
Oh, okay.
We'd appreciate that. We'll be back for a Christmas show next week, talking about Christmas media, and specifically Christmas comics. So tune in for that for your Yuletide pleasure. And that's it. We're signing off for this show. I'm your host, Caliban.
I'm your co-host, Mikan Hana.
Keep the geek fires burning.